All right. A Republican has now admitted, yes, Donald Trump could have told the rioters to go home much earlier than he did, and that would have prevented a lot of the violence on January 6, 2021, that horrible, horrible day of the Trump riots. This is an important admission, not because it is news to us. Obviously, Trump could have stopped the riots sooner. He could have prevented them in the first place, by the way, by not starting to say, hey, let's go march on the Capitol and take what's mine or whatever the case may be. But it is still a notable admission because not many Republicans have been willing to say it. Here is Congressman Tim Burchett, who admits Trump could have stopped the violence. He's being interviewed in this clip by CNN's Jim Acosta. There's a bunch of crosstalk at the beginning, but eventually Burchett says he could have told him to go home. Absolutely.
There's a lot at fault there. A lot of people were at fault.
But none of that would have happened. But none of that would have happened if Trump had just accepted that he lost the election.
If Trump had,
if he had just accepted that he lost the election, like your Democratic opponent in Tennessee when you won re-election,
sure,
that person, they said, you know what, Tim Burchett won the election. I'm going to go on my way and move on with my life. Donald Trump didn't do that.
Well, I'm still
lying about it being rigged.
I'm still waiting on their call.
Okay, well.
Yeah,
let's put that to the side, but you understand my point.
Listen, if President Trump had gone on the news and said, y'all cool it, it would have stopped. You're right there. Absolutely, 100%. It put people's lives at risk, and I thought it would have been a great opportunity for him to make press, but he didn't. Nobody else did either. And it just went on, and it went from bad to worse.
You know, it's not true that nobody else did either. There were plenty of us on the left, as well as police officers, as well as all sorts of others in Washington, D.C., saying, hey, go home. It's time to go home. Get out of here. You don't need to be here. Just go home. It's just that the rioters only were listening to Trump. And we have proof that Trump could have prevented the violence, because when he eventually did say go home, what was it, 3-4 hours in? I think the entire day is like a blur, but I think the violence started between noon and 1. I think sometime between 4 and 5:30, Trump issued his video saying, all right, it's time to go home. And then they went home. So we know they would have gone home because they did go home when Trump finally said it. Now, Burchett is not the biggest hero in the world. He also has wacky views on different things. I think he thinks there's been a UFO cover up by the U.S. government for 60 or 70 years or something along those lines. We don't say this is now our hero, but he is something that is the obvious consensus among those willing to think about it honestly. And so then it only raises the specter of this question: to what degree is Trump responsible for the fact that the riots happened in the first place to begin with? And the answer is, well, to some degree, we may find out in a court of law. Ultimately, where that will go in terms of holding Trump accountable, we all know that we don't yet know. But good for Burchett for at least saying this. He seems to be saying nobody was out there calling for them to go. That's a lie. And we know Trump could have prevented this far earlier. But this is nothing as far as a revelation compared to what we learned yesterday about classified documents. Let's talk about that next.